Hey everyone, welcome back to another Patreon lesson. I wanted to open this lesson or video just by saying thank you to everybody who's subscribed or whatever you want to call it to the Patreon over the last year and a half or so that I've been doing this. I try to thank people when they sign up and stuff, but sometimes things slip through the cracks and all that, and just have noticed the support over the last couple months and everything, and just really wanted to say thank you for that. So I'm glad people are interested in these videos, and that they have some kind of insight or helpful tips for people. So again, thanks for signing up. And yeah, like I always say this, but if there's anything that you want me to talk about in specific for future videos, or if you have more questions or whatever, like, patrons are always welcome to reach out and ask me more specific questions about things, and I'm happy to try to answer that or be of some help. So with that said, for today's video, what I thought I would do is, I did a video a couple months back, I think it was, that I think I titled something like An Approach to Alt Pop Sensible Drums or something, and it was basically me just kind of talking about a way to track real drums but make them kind of feel like they fit in a more like, pop context, as far as like capture and processing and all that stuff. And I think I mentioned in that video wanting to do a future video about percussion building, like when somebody sends you a track either for drum tracking, or they specifically want you to just build up some percussion stuff, or both. So for the example I'm going to show today, it's not the same song, but it kind of fits in a similar space of being a track I was sent that was kind of like a pop song, but with like a singer-songwriter kind of feel, like a relaxed kind of feel. And I was asked basically to just kind of fill in the loop that was created by the producer. So the producer sent me an instrumental track that had like the vocals and all the instruments besides any percussion and drums, and then he sent me like a drum track, which is basically just like some programmed loop stuff that he did. And he said kind of, like, this is stuff that may or may not stay, but just do your thing, and then I'll kind of mold what I do to what you do. But I actually kind of reversed it back on him and took the approach of like, I like what you did, so I'm just going to try to create things that coexist with the loop that you built, and even if you got rid of it, what I built up would kind of stand alone as well. But they complement each other really well. So I thought I would just show this example, just because I did build out quite a few textures and layers on this track. And even though this is kind of a more pop sensible song, the way I would do this would be the same for any genre. So I thought that would be helpful, just to kind of show how I do this, and some of it may be pretty straightforward, things that you've done before that are pretty widely known or used, techniques. But there's definitely a few things I did in this session in particular that I remembered I thought were unique, and just kind of a out of the box way of thinking about creating some of those textures. So let's go ahead and jump in the session here. So as you can see, so basically from this track labeled Kick, which probably could have colored these in a way that made them more obvious, but I don't tend to color things a whole lot in my sessions for whatever reason. I've just gotten used to seeing all blue. But yeah, from Kick down to Crash Right, these are all layers that I added, and then this top track is like the instrumental track the producer sent me, and then this one is the drum or like program drum track that he sent me. So maybe what I'll do, I was trying to think of the best way to do this and be concise but also give the details, is maybe just give you a full context first. I'll play a couple sections of the song. Obviously this is not like a finished song. I don't know how far along in the process this was. I'm not sure if it was a demo or where it was, but just to give you some full context, I'll maybe play a couple sections, and then I'll just go like track by track and show you kind of what I did. Try to skip over the more monotonous stuff and focus more on the more unique things, but I'll definitely show you every track. Yeah, because I really enjoyed doing it on this particular song. Some songs all it calls for is like maybe a shaker and a tambourine if it's like a more traditional rock thing or whatever, but this one definitely had plenty of room for like all kinds of cool little ear candy textures. So yeah, let me play, maybe start with a chorus just because most of the things I did are in on the chorus, and then maybe I'll play a couple verse sections as well. Let's start here.
Medicine that I can take, faking a smile to get through the pain. You always seem to leave me all messed up. There's no getting over you, even after all they put me through. Everybody says that I shouldn't give you up and get you out of my system. Out of my system. Out of my system. Out of my system. Sometimes.
All right, so yeah, that's a chorus section. So that shows you most of what I did, but then there's a couple little tracks, like this water bottle track, that only happen in the verse. So let me play. Let's start from here.
It's about time I say it. The games that you love playing, and the tossing and turning every night, wanting to be there by your side tonight. I know it, there's no good reason for it. This endless cycle I go through of letting go and then wanting you all the time. All the time. There is a medicine that I can take, making a smile to get through the pain. You always seem to leave me all messed up. There's no get.
Yeah, I think that gives you an idea. I went ahead and let it play through that first half of that chorus just so you could kind of hear how it rolls in and give it a little more context. But yeah, that kind of gives you an idea of the vibe of the song, so you know what I was kind of aiming at. Let me just start at the top. So yeah, that's everything. This was a lot of fun, building it up at the time and also just going through it now and kind of revisiting what I did, with just a totally different goal in mind, than being in a track just to play drums on, which is always fun. But it was definitely a different kind of experience, just kind of being like, how can I be creative but also serve the song in a percussive way, more percussion instrument centered. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. Like I said, there's probably some things in there that you've done a million times before or whatever, but maybe it's just a different version of what you've done. Or I think some of the main things, like the idea of pitch shifting things up and down or using non-typical items, as percussion instruments, is something that a lot of people are starting to do. It's almost like, I hate to say this after going through all this, but like it can almost be gimmicky sometimes. Like sometimes somebody is more concerned with like, oh, I use this crazy thing on this and it's really cool. And it's like, yeah, it's cool, but it's not serving the song. Maybe you even think that about something I did. Maybe you're like, that track that you put in there is that. Hopefully not. I feel like all these were tasteful enough to be possibilities in it. And like I said, told the producer, like, feel free to get rid of anything you want, but I wanted to at least send him, everything I sent him to be something that I feel like could legitimately live in the track and not just be a gimmicky thing. Anyways, but yeah, hopefully it gives you some ideas, thinking more like a producer, thinking outside the box, using processing, to make things do different things, knowing like, okay, this is what the source sounds like, but I'm going to do this with it. And that's kind of the point. Like the source is just a vehicle to make it do something else, basically. As always, as I say at the end of every lesson, if you've got any questions, let me know. If not, see you next time.